Welcome to Teacher Ferwin TV, an online opportunity to learn infinitely. This is John Ferwin Zamora Camargo for another episode of I Can Learn.
Historically, many human civilizations emerged from wars between clans or tribes. The most common cause of these wars competition for territories and natural resources. The clan or tribe with superior military weapons and the strategies are oftentimes turn out to be the conqueror. The weaker clan or tribe is destroyed or obliterated. Others who were defeated were turned into slaves or absorbed into a new empire. For this reason, the military was only used to conquer other clans or states, but became an instrument to territories and to protect the people. Even today, these remain the functions of the military. The right of every country to protect its people against external or internal threats of aggression is a principle guaranteed by United Nations. Country has the questionable right to use military force to protect its used first, before resorting to war or the use of arms. This is equivalent to self-defense or self-preservation. The UN principle on self-preservation is also expressed in of different countries. In Philippines, Article 2, Section 3 of the 1987 Constitution states, "Civilian authority is, at all time, supreme over the military. The armed forces of the Philippines is the protector of the people and the state. Its goal is to secure the sovereignty of the state and the integrity of the national territory." But the responsibility of protecting the country is not the exclusive of Philippine armed forces and the government. The people are likewise needed in protecting and preservation of the country's territory. This is the reason for the establishment of the Reserve Officers Training Corps, ROTC, that is, to train and prepare the Filipino citizens protect the country. The NSTP is a result of the government's intention to reform the ROTC. Therefore, in tracing the development of the NSTP, we may find ourselves exploring into the origin of the ROTC. And even the Armed Forces of the Philippines, AFP, form the Spanish colonization. In his book, Military Education in the Philippines, Brigadier General Jose G. Sijuco, an advanced ROTC graduate of the Ateneo de Manila University, wrote that the military education in the Philippines started during the Spanish colonial years. That is, during the establishment of the Philippine Revolutionary Government in the Tijeras Convention. During the convention in 1897, General Artemio Ricart was elected as Captain General and fought the Spaniards in 1896 and the Americans in 1898. Some writers, however, said the real origin of the ROTC started in the Philippines in 1912, when military action was conducted at the University of the Philippines. The late Senator Blas F. Opal said that it was Coloran like Eisenhower, then a staff of General Douglas MacArthur, who drafted Commonwealth Act No. 1. Otherwise known as the National Defense Act. Signed by Manuel L. Quezon on December 23, 1935, this law designed the Philippine Army as a citizen army. Filipino youth at the age of 18 were supposed to be subject to military training, Opal, 2001. As a result, military training became a compulsory for male college students before graduation. Commonwealth Act No. 1, however, was not fully implemented due to the outbreak of World War II. Nonetheless, records show that the products of the ROTC were called to the colors in 1942 and during that Japanese occupation proved their worth on the battlefield. Opal added, during war, the Philippine guerrilla forces that fought the Japanese Imperial Army drew their officer material from the ranks of the ROTC and the PMT cadres. The famous hunters ROTC guerrillas in Rizal Province and the Southern Luzon led by Terry Adavoso and Mike Ver proudly took their name from the program that had bred the bulk of their officer corps. According to Opal, what survived from the plans of Colonel Eisenhower were the ROTC course in the universities and colleges and CATS, citizens military training, at the secondary level. Nonetheless, after World War II, Executive Order No. 59 was issued making the mandatory inclusion of the ROTC in the curricula of all colleges and universities. From the ROTC became requirements for graduation in college. During the time of President Ferdinand E. Marcos, Presidential Decree 1706, otherwise known as National Service Law, was issued. The decree aimed to provide for compulsory national service for Filipino citizens and amending certain provisions of Commonwealth Act No. 1. Section 2 of PD No. 1706 states, "National service shall be obligatory for all citizens of the Philippines." As used in this decree, national service shall consist of three main programs, namely, civic welfare service, law enforcement, and military service. The decree further states that each citizen shall render national service in any of the three main programs, or combination thereof, provided that such service shall be credited in his favor for the purpose of fulfilling educational requirement established by law. Under this law, military service was made optional per leaving spokesman under the Arroyo administration, contended that this law provides for implementation of the optional system of the ROTC, Cabling, 2001. The National Service Training of PD. No. 1706 composed of military training service, mountain standard time, civic welfare service, CWTS, and law enforcement service, LES. However, this law was not fully implemented except for the MSTS. Hence, the ROTC continued as a major requirement for male for graduation in college. On September 17, 1991, Congress passed Republic Act No. 7077, otherwise known as the Citizen Armed Forces Reservist Act. Under this law, graduates of ROTC basic and advanced courses were considered reservists or citizen soldiers. Section 38 RA No. 7077 provided that students in colleges, universities and similar institutions of learning were required to enroll in the ROTC program. As stated in Section 39 RA No. 7077, the ROTC involves 2 years of mandatory basic ROTC training. Advanced 2-year ROTC training, though was voluntary. The provision of No. 7077 continued to be implemented until the passage of RA No. 9163 in 2002. For many years, students expressed disgruntlement over the content, conduct, staffing competence and alleged corruption in ROTC program, also called CMT or Citizen Military Training. This was exemplified by the article of Bert Sulit Jr. published in Today in June 6, 2001 saying, "For the last few decades the ROTC has been the bane of what? 99% male college students in the country, and I am surprised and grateful that the program and its proponents are finally being taken to task, the establishment of the NSTP. It had to take the courage and indignation of Mark Wilson Chua and some of his peers at the University of Santo Tomas, UST, to rouse the Department of National Defense, DND, last December, 2000. For the DND to realize that the ROTC, in manner of speaking, may as well be an acronym for Rotten Core to the Core." The murder of Sergeant Major Mark Wilson Chua of the UST, alleged by the ROTC training staff for squealing corruption, turned 2001 into a year of protest by students, university and college administrators, and coalition of represented by the presidents of 9 U-Belt schools, published an official statement entitled, "The ROTC. Excising Cancer and a Number of Dailies, Sulit, 2001. This marked call for the abolition of the ROTC, which according to the late Senator Renato Cayetano, is no longer responsive to the needs of the present time, and it encourages and breeds graft and corruption, Knockern, 2001. The proposal to abolish the ROTC was met the stem opposition. No less than the late Senator Blas Opal made a warning in the Manila Bulletin on June 20, 2001 regarding the call for the abolition of the ROTC. Senator Opal wrote, "It appears to me as concerned Filipino that a major threat to the country's national security, weightier than the fleeting challenges of the Abu Sayyaf, is the imminent dismantling of the ROTC program. To propose its ROTC abolition without viable alternatives is to throw the baby together with the bath." In response to the call of the public to reforms in both the ROTC program, both the House of Representatives and the Senate passed bills. House Bill No. 9163 passed and signed into law by President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo on January 23, 2002, and was implemented in school year 2002 to 2003.